Welcome to Live at Liberty. We've got some good things coming up today. Lori McAfee is going to come in and talk about the staff disc profile. So someone asked us about that. I think it was Susan made a comment about, hey, we mentioned it, that the staff all took the disc test to figure out what their personalities were. So what were the answers? So Lori's going to come in later and break that down with the staff. But before we get going there, let me tell you all the great things that are happening at Liberty. One of those things is on Mondays on our Facebook page, we're asking the question, what was your favorite thing about Sunday? And just trying to get different pictures around things happening at the church. We would love your response on those posts, whether it was a conversation you had, it was a great life group lesson that you talked about, maybe it was a sermon point, maybe it was something that happened out in the foyer, whatever it was. What was your favorite thing about Sunday at Liberty? We would love to hear your feedback on that. So let's talk about some of the great things that happened on Sunday at Liberty. Man, we had a big crowd again on Sunday. Last Sunday, we had 450-something people here. This past Sunday, they told me they counted 400 people just in the auditorium. So, man, big crowds. And we have really seen an increase in attendance since the summer. So these are exciting times at Liberty. Right now, with our Celebrate Recovery attendance between about 150 and 200 on Thursday nights, and our Sunday morning attendance running anywhere on the low end, 375, on the high end, like I said a couple weeks ago, 454 on that Sunday. We're well over 600 people a weekend here at Liberty, so it's really good. So keep inviting your family and friends. We finished out the Pastor Appreciation Offering, and we met our goal. If you didn't hear, we finished out at $100,945. And so thank you to everyone who gave to that. Melissa shared with me that it wasn't just a few people that gave, but we had more than 60 families that participated in that. So that's really exciting to see the church's response. And, you know, I told you at the beginning of the month, man, the things that would encourage me the most, one, to see you here, and you have responded so well to that. We've had great crowds all month long in October and started off November very well. And to see people giving and supporting what we're doing here at Liberty, and then also for us to raise $100,000 to knock off on the debt. And I don't know if you've been a part of our prayer meetings, but man, Sunday night's prayer meeting was another just incredible gathering. Those things are becoming so important to the church. Sunday night was the largest prayer gathering that we've had. We do it every first Sunday. We had about 150 people here for the prayer meeting. We had about 120 stayed for the fellowship meal. So that was exciting to see. But the point is, do you realize that since we began praying to pay down the debt, which would have been probably about in the spring, we started making that a matter of prayer each month, that we've paid over $400,000 down on the debt this year since we began praying about it. So it's just, wow, look at what God is doing. And if you really want to see the Lord at work, you got to be a part of those prayer meetings on the first Sunday each month. We had baptism number 68 on Sunday, which is exciting. Sunday was Communion Sunday. We had a young man who was there who just really got under conviction during the communion time, who came down, talked to me, gave his life to Christ. So a person entering into the kingdom, man, that's an exciting thing to see on a Sunday. So really good stuff happening on Sundays at Liberty. So what was your favorite thing? And go to our Facebook page and give us a comment about that. How about some birthdays? So 11/4, which is today, Casey Goley. Tomorrow will be Hunter Shady. 11/7 on the 7th will be Bella Smith. Also Rick Willett. And then on the 10th is John Baggett. And also on the 10th is Kevin Garner. So happy birthday to all of y'all. If you see them around, wish them a happy birthday this week. No anniversaries. We think we're still working on a better way for you to get that info into us. We don't feel like we have the accurate information on that. So be watching for that forthcoming. And then something to celebrate. Old Stockard Baggett, he came in on Sunday morning, and buddy, he was all smiles because he was in his first karate competition last weekend, and he got first place in weapons, second place in fighting, and fourth place in form. So, hey, don't mess with Stockard Baggett. But way to go, Stockard. That is exciting, man, and you keep working and keep competing and growing in that sport. Let's do our Liberty Sports update. Let's talk bowling first of all. Liberty won back in the win column with a sweep of Temple. Liberty 2 got swept by Central Church of Christ Omega. But Coach Whaley told me that both teams are sitting at 4-4 and high in the standings, which is a good start to the new quarter in bowling. High scores, way to go, Mike Sparks, 180, David Lumpkin, 176, and Travis Glenn, 175. And Coach Whaley told me, man, we're still trying to raise some NIL money for better bowlers. He said, but if we can't raise the NIL money, then we'll invite them to a man church dinner. That'll be, we'll bribe them with food, right? So still looking for some high caliber bowlers. So maybe you can jump in next time the league comes available. Let's talk fantasy football. We got 5 weeks to go in the regular season, and things are tightening up. So Liberty League A, ugly. That's my team over the Cone Dogs. John Baggett's Saviors of the Stat Sheet took down the Lord's Will Shark Sandwich, who is now 8-1. Man, how about you, Bo? And he has a 2-game lead atop the standings. He took down, how about them Garners? Hunter Shady's Slim Pickings drops a close one against Nathan Pendergrass's Sherlock Mahomes. And then Gabe Shady's Campbell's Troop hands Joel's Jukers his second loss in a row. Man, Joel was number 1 in the league, and he's been on a skid the last 2 weeks. So, Joel, maybe you can turn that around soon, but I think you're going to be okay for the playoffs. Let's talk about League B. I got another win in that one. 3rd down for what over Dillon Center, and it's still Dillon's daring team. Dude, could you change it to Just Got Married or something like that? We need a better team name. So out of you. So Devin Smith's Mud Dogs takes down the Juggernaut, the number 1 in the league, in the upset of the week. Nathan Stanfield's My Cup Runneth Over You. And then listen to this, everyone. We are so happy to report that Tyler Tipton's Manchester United got his first win. We were at the fellowship meal Sunday night, and Tyler came up to me and he goes, hey, I think I'm going to win this week in fantasy football. So way to go, Tyler. Good week for you. And he is on the board. Took down Josh Hall's LeConcord. 4th down in Lando. Man, Anthony Landowski has won 3 in a row. Took down Daniel Zapko's I'm Eating Waffles, and you won't be alone, Zapko. And then What's the Matter? Danny Miller over David Smith's FSU 1-1. And in Liberty League B, we have a 3-way tie at the top. 3 teams at 7-2. 4th and Lando, My Cup Runneth Over You, and What's the Matter? So good things happening there in the Fantasy Football League. Let's talk about what's going on at Liberty. You know, we're in the middle of this government shutdown, and there's a lot of benefits and things that people count on that they're not going to receive, at least right now. We do a feeding program once a month called Hope for the Hungry, and as of taping of this episode, that will be tomorrow on November the 5th. And we do it on the first Wednesday of every month. That's from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. So if you need a box of food, you know somebody who needs a box of food, or you'd like to volunteer, please come by and get involved with Hope for the Hungry. Deck the Halls, November the 19th. That's a Wednesday night. We won't have our man church groups, our ladies ministry, any of the ministries going on that we typically do on Wednesday nights, that we all get together and decorate the church for Christmas. So that's going to be November the 19th. Melissa always puts out good Christmas goodies and apple cider, and we play Christmas music, decorate the church. And that's a big help to our decorating team. So if you can help us out on November the 19th, it's a lot of fun. The Turkey Bowl, November the 23rd. I have been in training for this. So that's going to be November 23rd at 2 p.m. at Christian Heritage Stadium. We have a men's tournament. We have a women's game, and I've gotten wind around the church. There are some women who are doing some pretty heavy recruiting right now, getting real serious about this the ladies' game for the Turkey Bowl. And then we have a kids punt, pass, and kick contest. So that's always a fun afternoon, Sunday, November 23rd, 2 p.m. at Christian Heritage. And then our Chrismon service, November the 30th. We have a lot of new people to Liberty. If you've never been a part of the Chrismon service, you're going to love it. We decorate the Christmas trees in the auditorium. We have 2 giant trees in there, and we decorate them with Christ symbols, these ornaments that talk about who Christ is and the story of Christmas. Kids love it. Families love it. It's one of the great Christmas traditions here at Liberty. So don't miss that service on the 30th. Also on that day, it's the time of year we figure out the ministry plan for next year financially. So they're going to present the budget on November the 30th. We'll take questions on Wednesday, December the 3rd, and then bring it to a vote on Sunday, December the 7th. And then also we have the Man Church Conference, January the 23rd and 24th in Birmingham. The sign-ups and registration are going on that. You can go on our app and sign up right now. We have 7 spots remaining. So guys, if you're interested, or ladies, that'd be a really good Christmas present to buy for your son or your husband, maybe both, to go to that conference and just really be challenged as a man. So that's January 23rd and 24th. And then just going to kind of put it on your radar, getting into 2026, Mike Blackaby. We remember we did Experiencing God by Henry Blackaby, his grandson, Mike. If you watch the new updated version of Experiencing God, you know Mike is one of the personalities on there. He is going to be here at Liberty January the 30th through February the 1st. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Going to be a great Bible conference weekend for us. And I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and he was telling me a little bit about the new content that they're putting out for Experiencing God. And, you know, if you went through the Experiencing God and you heard those incredible stories of some of the things that Henry Blackaby experienced, and you go through Experiencing God and you're like, man, I just haven't had those big mountaintop moments yet, and you're wondering what's going on. Mike told me something really interesting. He said the update to Experiencing God is to kind of tell you the other side of the story, some of the things that Henry didn't share. Like, he felt like God led him to start a Bible study, and he showed up for the first time and no one was there. So what's the journey up into those mountaintop experiences that God wants to bring us to? And so this is going to be a really good conference weekend for us. And again, that's going to be January the 30th through February the 1st. We'll tell you more about that, obviously, as we get closer. But you can get all the information on the app, the Liberty Baptist Chatsworth app. I would encourage you to go download that. You can suggest content for the podcast, just like Stockard Baggett doing well in his karate contest. If you have questions from me, you can ask the pastor. There's some good video series on there. There's a marriage series called Love Like This. There's right now I'm putting our content from our men's study through the book of Psalms. I put a video on there about men's mental health last week that a lot of guys said, man, I watched that. It made a big difference. Even had some ladies who said, hey, I watched this. I wish my husband would watch this. And so, hey, hint, hint, guys. So all that stuff is on the app. There's good sermon series on there. You can watch the replay from Sunday, registrations, events, giving. All that stuff is on the Liberty Baptist Chatsworth app. Well, let's talk about some personalities and profiles with the staff. We're going to bring in Lori McAfee, so stay tuned and let's continue here live at Liberty. Well, hey, welcome back. So we got a comment on the last episode, when I mentioned that the staff took a disc profile test on the staff retreat, and Susan Vick was asking, well, what were the different personality types of the staff? And I mentioned on Sunday in the message, so we have our expert analyst, Lori McAfee, here with us today to break down the mental jungle that is the Liberty staff.
All right, so let me tell y'all what everybody is.
We're about to get there, right? So just real quick to kind of set some context, there are a few people who aren't familiar.
Right.
I'd never knew what DISC was. I know their Enneagram and all that kind of stuff. So for people who may not be familiar, tell us what the different DISC, what do that stand for? What are those personality types?
The D is very driven. They're very demanding. The I is influential. They want to have everybody else follow them. S is very steady, very stable. A C is very conscientious. They're very calculated.
Okay. So you have a life coaching business, and it's been really effective with a lot of folks. And you use this profile. You obviously use some other things. So just kind of in your life coaching, why do you use this? How do you use this? And what benefits, like especially in a team of people when you've done this before? So
I want to know what makes a person tick. And so the only way that I can really know that is kind of break the person down by questions and just ask, different things about the person. And so that's how it's helped me to be able to coach people, is I know how to talk to that person. That person can understand. I can understand them, and they can understand me, because I also share what I'm a high I, I'm a high S. So, I want you to do what I tell you to, because I'm going to influence you, and I'm going to be stable and steady through it all. So that really helps, in that capacity. And for a team, if I know what someone else is, then I'm able to communicate with that person. And not only that, a lot of times I'm able to bring that person up to encourage them, or, for like for a D, for instance. I'm able to use that control and that drivenness to use that influential person to say, hey, if we do this, come alongside me and help me out here, and we're going to accomplish this together, and you can cause this person to become better in what they do. So, it just helps a team to grow, to really know each other, to be able to function better together, to communicate better, to understand one another and why we do what we do.
So when we were on the staff retreat, I challenged everybody on the staff to do a personal development plan and to read a book. And I was asking the question, I wonder if there's a book about this. And Scott found one and I think it kind of states exactly what you said at a different angle. The title of the book is Surrounded by Idiots.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah. I started listening to it on my walk jog yesterday. And it kind of comes from a naturalistic Freudian kind of a perspective, which don't, throw out the parts you don't, but for the Christian worldview. But the opening of the book is so right that, like, when you're in high school, you surround yourself by people that are easy for you to talk to, easy for you to get along with. And so then you get out into the work world, or you're trying to get married, develop family, and you got these other personalities. And then but you always think those other people you can't talk to are idiots, right? So I'm the only one in the room who gets it, and everybody ought to be like me. Right. And so the DISC profile helps you to understand, look, it's not that the other people are wrong, but it's the idea of self-awareness.
Exactly.
And so how does self-awareness help a person communicate with others? Why is that so important?
You have to know who you are. We have to know how God created us, who we are on the inside, and how we function better in a natural state. And sometimes, and we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, we get into where we have that mask on. So like for high school, for instance, you want to fit in with this certain group of people, so you will change the way that you act. You will try to put yourself into this box that you are not created for. And so a lot of times, and then things just go south from there. And so a lot of times whenever we do that, we don't even know who we are. And we do that in life a lot of times too, in our adulthood. We just try to communicate and respond out of just a pure mask in everything that we do. And so I think that just knowing who you are and going back to that all the time, just reminding yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror, reflecting on who you truly are deep within. And to me, knowing yourself, that way you can live as God created you. Otherwise, you're not. You're living fake and inauthentic. And we want to be our true, authentic self as God created us, so that we can accomplish what He's created us for.
Yeah. And you talk about sometimes emotional intelligence or emotional IQ.
I do.
A lot of people are kind of stunted. If you only surround yourself with people that you get along well with, and you can't function with others, man, you're just kind of, it's not just in your emotional intelligence, man, everything in life, you're kind of limited.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Very much so. No growth.
So, Susan, we're going to get to what everybody is. So hang on. I'm going to ask one more question just to kind of help everybody build a bridge. So what if you were to take biblical characters who would be the D's, who would be the I's, who would be the S's, and who would be the C's?
Well, I only chose one because I was like, I have to think a little bit longer on this. But I would say for a D, it was definitely Paul. He was bold. He was directive. He knew the mission he had to accomplish, and he knew what it took to get there.
Okay.
For the I, that's Peter. I'm so a Peter. I just want to party. Like, I just want to have a good time, But in that also, he was outspoken. And I can be sometimes a very outspoken person, For the S, being very stable, I believe that was Abraham. He's very faithful. He knew God's promises were going to be fulfilled, and he trusted the process.
Okay.
For the C, Moses, thoughtful. He there are some things that he kind of didn't always follow through on the way that God wanted him to, but he wanted that leadership. He wanted to be able to please God in the things that he did in a calculated way.
Okay. All right, so here we go. The disc profiles for the staff.
All right,
break it down.
Hang on. Everybody buckle up. Here we go. So Brian, we've already determined that he is a DC.
No surprise.
Yep, no one is shocked on this one. Melissa, she is an SC. She is our faithful peacemaker. And Scott, he is an SI. He's a compassionate encourager. Levi, he is a CS. He's the analytical guardian. Jody, she is a DIC. She's a driven communicator. Austin, he's the CS. He's the reliable helper. And Shannon, she is the SC. She's a supportive specialist.
So Lori shows up at the retreat.
Yeah, I already knew what everybody was, and I was already thinking, oh boy, here
brings
we
everybody
go.
a paper, right? So, and I read on top of mine, high DC, right? The commanding achiever, right?
Yeah, I didn't say that.
So
I was leaving that off.
Before I say how I thought about that, how that went through my mind. How did it hit you guys? So you got this and you started reading it. Like, what's going through your mind?
I am the faithful peacemaker. I mean, I was right on. So, everything that I read, it was like, that is right. That is right. I am that. I do that. Ooh, and I don't see other people this way because, it's really. Are we going into this now about how
ahead.
we've changed? So it really opened my eyes on how everybody is not like me. Everybody is not going to do things exactly by the book. Everybody is not going to stay within those lines, and everybody is not going to be as consistent, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So I learned mostly things of how to give grace when grace is needed, and it's not because of anything out of line. It was just because maybe it's not the way I would have done something, or maybe it's not the way I would have went about it. Or so that's really helped me because it causes me to have to get out of my little box of saying this is how we do things and this is how we're going to do it and here's the end result and how we're going to get there. So my opinion is not the only.
So it really kind of helps you to see your interactions with other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Scott, how about you? How did it kind of hit you? Pull that microphone up there to you.
So she first asked us, "What do you think you are?" before she gave us the paper. And I was like, I'm teetering between I and S, and so I didn't know that I would be both of them. I just thought we had to pick one. But it's really helped me to see how, because I lead a lot of people, and so it's helped me to be able to see their personalities and why they behave the way that they do. And how to help them be more effective. And not only that, to help me be more effective in some of the things that, because now I look at it and I go, I do that. Yeah. Oh man, that stinks. But I can begin to correct some things that other people see about me that may be not what I want them to perceive, right? And so it's really helped me to be able to see the different personalities and how to motivate them to be all that God wants them to be.
And Austin, yours was really interesting. So you read yours and said that you had changed. So explain that.
Well, I'm still a little bit of who I was 10 years ago when or more than that, really, I guess, when I took the test for the
You need
first
to write
time.
a song called "Still a Little Bit of Who I Was." That's your next.
I
big
almost
hit.
started singing it right now, but I'll save it. I don't want to embarrass myself. Which is easy to do. Anyway, so I mean, mine was high C, S. I guess I don't know what percentage the S is. I'm sure it's pretty significant, I guess, but
You're pretty equal.
pretty equal. Okay. See, I didn't even know that. I'm learning something right now. I'm equal.
live on the
Yeah,
air.
it is. It's very live. Thank you. Feels good. No, but I guess I was less calculated 11 or 12 years ago when I took this. And I think, the Lord shapes you and life changes you and affects you in different ways. And based on all of those factors, you sort of, you mold into someone a little bit different than you were 10 years ago. And I mean, I guess I would be a little bit concerned if I hadn't changed a little bit. And, I don't know what we'll all look like 10 years from now if we were to take the same test, but it is really interesting. Kind of to, one thing that comes to mind, like the title of mine was Reliable Helper. And some of the items in that or the descriptors were like loyal and consistent, things like that. I'm sure you can tell me exactly what it is because you got it right there.
Got all our paperwork.
Yeah, she has my brain on a sheet of paper over there. But to piggyback off of your last segment, talking about Stockard winning some karate. So my experience in karate, I really think helped shape me to be sort of, in some way, the personality type that I am now. Because I remember as many times as I wanted to quit, whether it was my parents telling me I couldn't quit or knowing deep down inside that I didn't want to quit. I made it to black belt. It didn't make it a whole lot faster or farther than that. But I look back at that as a time in my life where I saw it through. And I think because that was like second to fifth grade in my life, it was a really formative time. And I think it's helped me in so many ways to be that consistent, reliable person that whether it was a great joy-filled season or whether I really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for some joy, I was able to hang in there. And so
That's that steadiness. That's that S in you coming out.
it's always interesting, just to think about how much of this is nature and how much of this is nurture, and what's the ratio there. And I think it's a lot of both. Yeah.
So let's kind of hit that. So speak to that for a moment. So if you do get your disc profile, how much do people tend to change, and what are those nature nurture kind of things that influence your
Environment, for one thing, your friends, who you surround yourself with. I mean, just like we've all heard, you show me 5 people who you hang out with now, and I'm gonna tell you what your future looks like. And you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. I don't care how you cut that. So a lot of times our environment is going to change us, and different things that happen to us. Like I'm going to use Scott for an example. I've got a feeling Scott has always been an I, even his past. I got an example. I just really feel like he was a strong I then. So I think that he never really changed from that I. Just his purpose in the I changed. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like for me, my influence is, used to be, I want to convince you what kind of dental treatment you're going to have, because of what I do. Now I want to convince you to live as the person God created you to be, so, and then to me, this is where I'm comfortable, like talking about this. Like I want to tell everybody what's making them tick, so yeah, you definitely, your natural state, it can change depending on people you're around, the environment you put yourself into. And a lot of times our professions change us. I'm going to have to use my husband as an example here because that's the only way I can describe this a little bit, is my husband was a high I when he was younger. He was like I am, party influence, just the life of the party. Let's have a good time. But his profession that he chose was to be a dentist, which is very, very driven, very, it's demanding, it's very focused. And so that's caused him to have to shift into who he is now, which he always had it in him. It just wasn't as prominent as it is now. So I think that the profession that we're in, a lot of times it helps us to grow into actually who God created us to be, or it can change us from who God created us to be.
Okay. All right.
You told us at the staff retreat that we have all
You do.
of the
You have all of them in you.
characteristics in our personality traits in us. But I think that's true. I think when you have kids, maybe the shift in what is more dominant or comes out changes us. Jobs, ministry, ministry changes you too, because you're dealing with people. And so I see that, how it could shift and change.
And knowing who you are and knowing your personality type also helps you to be able to read other people. So when dealing with other people, you're able to see maybe something in them that can help you to communicate better with them on their, I don't want to say their level, but really their style of personality.
So I think I've always been a D, like looking back on it. And then I had a cousin here on Sunday who she works at Shaw, and apparently in her department, they do this disc profile a lot. And she said, I think all of the Branhams are Ds.
Well, and when I say that about my husband, he was always a D, but I think his shifted. He was an ID, now he's a DI. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he shifted. So like, that's what I'm meaning by that. Like some of the things are more prominent in than other things. But it all depends on, you can always see some trait from your childhood on up. Yeah. I've always wanted attention. Not that that's always a good thing, but I've always wanted attention. So that's always been in there. That's always been a part of who I was.
Okay. So Jody and I on the staff are both Ds.
Yes.
Right? And so what was interesting is Jody and I had the exact same reaction to it of, I don't like being a D.
Right. Because it sounds bad, but there isn't any of them that's bad. We can use every single one of these to our advantage or to our disadvantage. When what I mean by that is a lot of times we use these in a manipulative, deceitful kind of way. And we can do that to get ahead, to get our way, to take control of situations. Whereas a lot of times we need that, like you need your D in your ministry. You need to be a D in what you do because you are the shepherd. You lead people. So you need to be a D,
So I think where the lights really started coming on with the staff while you were talking at the retreat is when you talked about the difference in the natural state and the adaptive state. So explain that a little bit.
So the natural state is who God totally created you to be. That's the way that you act when you're the most comfortable, when you are relaxed, when you find joy in what you do. Things just automatically flow out of you. When you're in your adaptive state, a lot of times it's like putting on a mask, like we've talked about. Your environment will cause you to have to respond in a different way. And I think, for instance, we've talked about even like with Melissa's situation. Sometimes she may have to be like, "Hey, we can't do this in children's ministry. I have to do it this way." And she's not a D. She don't have any D in her, but she has to be direct and demanding in that time. There are probably positions where Scott has to be, So there are times that we have in our adaptive state, we focus a lot of times on complacent obligation. We're just going to say yes, even though that's not who we are. We're going to put this mask on and we're going to just enjoy what we're doing, but that is not who God created us to be. But I'm going to do that because this is what is expected of me, and this is what my environment is demanding me to be in right now.
So, like, Melissa, you're S, right? So, for instance, S in the natural state, right, is slow down, be more patient, emphasizes dependability, develops special skills. But in the adaptive state, increased pace and activity, seeks variety, shows a sense of urgency, reacts quickly to change, right? Did I get that right? So y'all kind of talk about that because I saw everybody kind of on staff going, okay, this is why certain seasons and activities in the church drain me. This is where it really energizes me. Kind of how did that change y'all's perspective on things when she was going through talking about that?
Well, we're in budget season for me, so it's always an overwhelming time for me because everything else is still going on. Like it don't stop just to add one more thing. So I do, like in this season of the year, I do feel rushed. I do feel like I'm going to forget something because I'm not able to stop and think through things. But this has reminded me, like I do my best work in the natural state. So that self-awareness we were talking about, that's real for me, because I didn't even realize that there were times that I was being adaptive. It was just, I'm going to do what you need so I can move on. Like I'm going to say yes to this. Let me do it. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll take care of you so I can move on and do what I need to do. So there were times that I was not even aware that I was overwhelmed just because of the choice I made to be adaptive to something. So, but that realizing that self-awareness of what am I doing and why am I doing it? Is this the best me that's going forward? And also learning to be proactive instead of reactive. That's one of those things where it talks about making decisions out of quick change. I don't like quick change. Like I like things to be a certain way. So like I want to be proactive.
When an S, you're talking about that. When an S feels like they're being threatened, they don't like that. Like if they feel like that they're being threatened at all, and I know that's harsh words, but they don't like that, so they will actually shut down.
It's Miss non-confrontational right there.
Exactly, and she will defer to people pleasing to avoid any kind of chaos, and that is not natural for her. That's not what she functions the best in.
Y'all got anything to add to that? Kind of what your adaptive to natural state?
So point in case. So the other day I come into church and Melissa brings a piece of paper in and just lays it on my desk. And it's from the water company, and we've went from 6,000 gallons to 24,000 gallons. So that means there's a leak somewhere along this building,
or lots of people getting baptized.
Yeah, that was my first response. I said we have baptized a lot of people here recently.
20,000 gallons.
What's the baptism per gallon ratio? We need.
All right, come on, Mr. C.
I need to figure that out so we can get
perfect
a correct
example.
Yeah. but it's one of those things where, in my day, I never know when I'm gonna have to be in that reactive state where I have to just go with whatever's put in front of me. And sometimes that's draining because, the steadiness of my own personality is in my natural state. I like things to be at pace where I can keep a handle on it, because when they get spiraled out of control, if you look at my desk, you can tell when my life is chaotic because I have papers everywhere on my desk, and that's how I can tell. Like a lot of times when I'm in my reactive state, those things get out of whack. And so I've after going through this, I've noticed those things about myself when I'm in those. I begin to be self-aware about. I'm beginning to see those things as I'm in those different elements of my disc profile.
So what was your natural reaction whenever she handed you that and you saw the difference in it? What did you want to do?
Give it back to her.
Yep. Well, my C came out saying, all right, we need to check at the road, check the backfield. Is it soggy? Then we got to check toilets. It was like.
Yeah.
And Scott's probably like, okay, let's find somebody who can go do that. Here you go. I got something else to do, because that's the way an eye functions.
So found the leak, fixed it. We're good.
So, hey, on Sundays, I've been talking about spiritual gifts.
Yes.
So I know this is kind of a curveball question that I didn't send you before, right? So the Lord's like, yeah, thanks. Let the D come out of me here. And just, I'm going to ask you anyway. I know it's not the same, so it's kind of a twofold question. How do these profile types factor in the spiritual gifts? And then at the same time, when you are in those places where it isn't natural to you, how does that give the opportunity for the Lord to work through you kind of for his strength and glory?
So like for me, for instance, my God-given gift, according to taking those tests, those kind of spiritual gifts things and things that I feel the most comfortable in, is talking about things like this, teaching people to be the person that God created them, helping them to see themselves as that. So that is, I think, my God-given gift in that capacity. And then, what was the next question? Next part of that?
So like in your like see the D parts that I don't like, right? Especially when you're in the adaptive state where it's kind of draining to you. How does that give an opportunity for the strength of the Lord, your weaknesses? You know, the Bible talks about that it's through our weaknesses that his strength is there. How does it give that opportunity?
Because your control becomes surrender. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And whereas I want to, me standing up there teaching, that's a spiritual gift. I want the accolades from that.
Okay.
So rather than receiving that accolades from that, I just understand God gets the glory. I don't get the glory. Yeah. So it shifts from me to a he.
Gotcha.
And so that's the difference, is that control becomes surrender. Like my applause from other people becomes that of just his glory.
Yeah.
For Melissa, it would be like just he gets the grace and his faithfulness, and that he wants the faithfulness over the flawlessness.
It's good.
Well, I would say one big takeaway from me is that, like when you initially read through, like, you compare this personality type to a biblical character, and that's really helpful just to see the similarities. But one big takeaway for me has been like when I hear you read my profile, I don't really see the person that does like what I do as that, and so that's my initial reaction is like, well, why did the Lord choose me? But what's I think is the best takeaway for me, and it took me some time to come around to this realization, is that like it's just even more proof that like it's the Lord doing it through you and not you doing it in your own power. I think it's great when those things kind of, the stars align with your personality and it's something that you like, and and I do like leading worship. Don't mishear what I'm saying. But I just think like sometimes I'm like as inspirational as a wet paper bag sometimes, and I really have to push to like, and it's not that like I don't think it's good or like it, whatever, but I feel like I really have to step outside of my comfort zone, like in those moments where like maybe a high I would be a really great worship leader, because like you're inspiring people to really, take hold of what's happening in that moment. And sometimes I'm like, why is my personality the way it is? But my whole point is like, well, it's just even more evidence that like if you see the Lord at work, then it's obviously him and it's not you, and he's not limited in his power to your personality.
Because you are totally motivated too by the harmony of the order of things. And so that is what makes what you do, why I can see that, is that you like the, not harmony as in the music, but the way things flow. Yeah. But the way things flow, and there's an order to it. There's an order to music. There's an order to our worship service. So that in itself is where I see that being powerful for you. That's your motivator.
Go ahead.
I think you see that demonstrated in Corinthians where Paul says, I came to you in weakness and in fear and trembling, not in, so that power could be displayed, right? And so if Paul was a D, right, then there had to be some where he had to display the Holy Spirit was working in his personality to display God's power and not his own. And I find that really interesting that the Lord can come into those places that we consider weaknesses.
Man, so we're driving up to the retreat. We had sat with you guys at a wedding the night before, and so Shannon and I left from the wedding and drove to the retreat site, and the whole way up there I'm complaining. I don't want to be a D. I don't like being a D, all that kind of stuff. And there are some things about being a pastor I feel like I have to do, but that's not really the way I'd like to do things. But sometimes you just have to make a decision, go for it. And she did remind me of that part of that passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And the personality types are different from the spiritual gifts, but he arranges each one as he wills, right? So the Lord puts the people in place, and so that was an interesting part. Jody and I both were just like, but you have to trust the Lord. He has made you where you are. The experiences of your life are not waste; they're formative. So
One of the things that probably drove me into doing this and to looking deeper into it, and especially into life coaching, is that 99% of the people do not know who God created them to be. They never truly look within. They are only going on what the world tells them that they are. So that is one thing, is I wanted people to just really know who they are, to just really look deep within and to know who they are and to be confident in that. Because whereas you can be confident in you being a DC to accomplish the mission that God has created for you. It's just like what you did on Sunday, the illustration with the different clothes. That's exactly the same way we are. We all have one mission.
Yeah.
Our one mission is to glorify the kingdom. So that one mission, we all have a different purpose in that mission. You have it in the capacity of a D, Melissa in a C, Scott in an IS, and Austin in a CS.
Yeah.
So
So you said that all of us have a little bit of each one in us. And so if we begin to recognize the different personality types, can you feed one more than the other and it become can it become more dominant?
Good question.
you're meaning like, can your I become stronger than your S?
Well, just like in the areas that I'm not really, like I do have
Your
a
D.
D or I do have
You can.
a C. Like if I recognize those things and I begin to be intentional about the positive part, not the negative parts, but the positive parts of those disc profiles, can they be strengthened in my life?
Like, let's go back to the water bill. You took control of that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the D came in. You also were very calculated in how you approached that. So that's where your C came in. Those are two things that you're not strong in. So you use those two in that process.
So hey, Lori, we appreciate so much you doing this. Before we wrap it up, I've got some pastor friends. I've been hey, you need to get this lady to come and talk to your staff because it was really good. Of the many staff retreats I've been on and done, that was one of the most profitable things we have ever done. So I know in the church there's a lot of people that have businesses and work on staffs. So are you available to do this kind of thing? How much time does that take, and how do they get a hold of you?
They can just contact somebody here if they know me, or through Facebook, text message, whatever. If they have my number, I'll be happy. Yes, I love it. I absolutely love this. This is where I thrive the most. I want to help people.
And the process for us is you sent us all a
I just
test.
send you something simple, and there are different ways that we could do. We did a very simple one here, but we can be more extensive. We can go into a lot deeper of this if you want to. Of course, that there's money involved in that too. you know?
Right.
So that's the thing, is that sometimes it costs a little bit more money and a little bit more time, depending on how deep you want to get into it. This was very surfaceable, but it went very deep.
Yeah, it was
And
really good.
helped. But yes, I will be more than happy to help other people to become the best staff for the glory of God.
Yeah, so you can kind of help them take the test, help them break it down, give them the analysis, and it was really, really good. So thank you so much for doing this. So anyway, well, hey, we appreciate you watching live at Liberty. We'll be back next week, but as we said a couple weeks ago, we're getting late in the season, man. We're coming up on Thanksgiving and then Christmas, so we only have a few more episodes to go. So if you have content suggestions or questions that I can answer for you, please use the app and send those in, and we'll see you next time live at Liberty.